Hello there. Welcome in Wednesday edition of the show, hour 3. If you're just tuning in, you're missing out. Fun conversation, including you could look at it one of two ways. Either it is the number of teams that you actually believe can win the Super Bowl this year, or what is the longest Super Bowl shot that you're willing to take with a more than insignificant amount of money. I'll take your thoughts either way. My guy Sean Martinez checking in. I knew if he was watching on Instagram that he would appreciate my mention of his beloved Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Now, I kind of backed out, but that's the team. I'm set on, unless anything catastrophic happens, Buffalo, Kansas City, Baltimore, Green Bay, LA, Philadelphia. I'm in. I think all 6 of those teams have a legitimate shot to win a Super Bowl. Tampa's the one I'm going to go in and out. You could check with me tomorrow. I only have to go on the record if I'm actually taking Tampa when the season begins, which there is a chance that I do. I know where I'm leaning, and it's not towards Tampa. Sean, I'll tell you what. You make sure that I watch a Tampa Bay preseason game. I might be back on Tampa. But that's kind of where I was at. I don't know that I would go that. They're 30-1, same as the Broncos. But they're the one I've talked myself in and out of like 20 times. Because, yes, this is what occupies my mind space on a day-to-day basis. I suffer for my Super Bowl predictions. And I suffer when I make my Super Bowl predictions because I usually get one right. That's kind of been my hit, not necessarily the winner. One of the 2 teams, almost every year I get right. Don't know if I can recall a time where I got both teams right. But it's what drives me. It's what gets me out of bed in the morning. That maybe I will this year. Maybe this is the year that I absolutely nail my Super Bowl prediction. But that's not today. It's just, who do you think can legitimately win a Super Bowl, and what is the longest shot you're willing to take a shot with? Take your thoughts on that, 719-247-1313. Or you could weigh in on any of these 3 stories that are driving the show today. All right, story number 1, not great news out of Cleveland. Shedeur Sanders, who earlier today was expected to be the starter for the Browns' second preseason game, if Dylan Gabriel could not go with his injury, and then he proceeded to go out onto the practice field and hurt himself. It is a strained quad, nothing super serious, but he is not expected to play in the preseason game on Saturday. And as I said when I mentioned this earlier, I do have to apologize a little bit to the Browns because you now need Snoop Huntley. Your quarterback room is an absolute mash unit at this point. But as far as Shador's chances, it is disappointing because he could have really grabbed that. I mean, what do we call this? Like, best young quarterback on the Browns roster, the guy they will turn to when it goes south with Joe Flacco. Call it whatever you want, but that role, he really had a chance on Saturday to seize that role 100%. And even some of the people who are still not totally in on Shador yet, a lot of them would be in with another performance similar to what he had in week one. But even if he's not cinching that spot because he's not playing this weekend, he's not losing that spot. I mean, if you don't believe that Shador is a better quarterback than Dillon Gabriel, I can't help you because he is. But two, if Dillon Gabriel's not playing, what's he going to do to alter perception? So an opportunity has been lost, but the opportunity for Shador Sanders still very much out there, and it's looking like this week is going to be status quo in the Browns quarterback competition. But Shador Sanders, no encore performance this week. It looks like because he strained his quad there. So unfortunate there for Shador. Story number 2, James Cook signing an extension with the Buffalo Bills. So that piece of business has been figured out. Not certainly the holdout that Micah Parsons or some of these other holdouts, but still an important one. Bills can ill afford to have James Cook sitting out games. I don't know if he was willing to do it, but we'll never need to find out because he has reached a 4-year, $48 million contract extension, $30 million of it guaranteed for those of you keeping score at home. It is, when you dive into the numbers, it does seem like a bit much for a running back, and a running back that is not a guy that is getting the amount of work that some others across the league, like, for instance, a Derrick Henry or a Saquon Barkley. But so much of this is all, when are you due to be paid? Nick Bonito is going to be a great example of this. Is Nick Bonito better than some of the pass rushers he's going to get paid more than? Not necessarily. But he's the next one to get paid. And James Cook is important to the Buffalo Bills. He absolutely is. But he's not a Derrick Henry or a Saquon Barkley. That guy is still Josh Allen. Right? And I'm talking just about running the football. Josh Allen, in many ways, is their most important runner of the football. But the Buffalo Bills should, and this is the kind of the topic that got us on to teams you can foresee winning a Super Bowl, the longest long shot you're willing to take a chance on when it comes to the Super Bowl odds, was how Buffalo there should be no reason why the road to the Super Bowl in the AFC does not go through Buffalo. The AFC West is better than it was a year ago. The AFC North, I think, is going to be better than it was a year ago. The AFC East, not better than it was a year ago. And I think even the AFC South, because I think the Jags are going to have a bounce back year. I don't think the Texans' path, although I do expect them to win the division, isn't going to be as easy as it was last year. Buffalo should roll. Buffalo should have that division locked up by Thanksgiving. Maybe that's a bit hyperbolic, but they should roll, and they should get home field advantage. And if they can't get it done this year, it's like, what else needs to happen? What else needs to happen in order for the Buffalo Bills to finally win a Super Bowl? I don't know. But I don't think that, even though I can see it, they're not going to be my pick. And maybe some of the bigger naysayers in the group here would say that bodes well for the Bills. And to that I say, how dare you? But they're not going to do it without James Cook, I'll tell you that. Even though Josh Allen's still very important that he can run the football, James Cook helps. So they got that piece of business done. Story number 3, unfortunately, not a good story. The very sad story, as really one of the pioneers of the Denver Broncos organization has passed away, and all the more tough to hear the news from the Broncos family, considering Lionel Taylor was just 2 days shy of celebrating his 90th birthday. But the first great wide receiver in the history of the Denver Broncos has passed away. And this presents an opportunity to look at his career and realize, man, that dude was good. And I mentioned him as a pioneer. First player in pro football history to get 100 catches in a season. And not only did he retire owning every major receiving record the Broncos had, he held them for a very, very long time. And the best thing I think you could say about Lionel Taylor, the football player, incredibly consistent. Year in and year out, he was productive for the Denver Broncos. Member of the Ring of Fame, member of the Colorado Sports Hall of Fame, and beloved member of the Broncos family, Lionel Taylor, passing away at the age of 89. Your thoughts, welcome on this Wednesday, 719-247-1313. Coming up next, we always have the conversation of whether you want your team to get into a training camp fight, or more specifically, a joint practice fight. I don't think anybody wants a team fighting with themselves, but do you even want somebody, your team, fighting with another team in joint practice? And to take it one step further, do you want your future franchise quarterback to be involved in such a skirmish? That's next here on Extra Sports 1300. As we start considering which teams are capable of winning a Super Bowl, there is a piece of information that Sean's bringing up that I have not considered. He mentioned the last time Taylor Swift, I want to make sure I have the right vernacular, had an era. Does she not drop an era? Does she not release an era? She has eras. Want to make sure I get that right. Last time she did that, Chiefs Bucks in the Super Bowl. What happened after that? I don't remember. I think the game was called a tie. I don't think they even played the game. They just said these are two very worthy competitors. It's Brady, it's Mahomes, and they both deserve a Super Bowl title. So they split the Lombardi Trophy in half and gave one half to each one. That's, I think, what happened. But that happened, that the era thing. Did she call her albums eras? I don't know if you'll be shocked to hear this. Every person that has asked me, and I've been asked a lot about this over the last couple of days. I don't know if an era is anything different than an album. And I have not listened to 1 nanosecond of the Kelsey Bros pod. Not one. And everybody that in the last couple of days that has asked me about it is shocked that I don't listen to the Kelsey Bros podcast. Why would I listen to the Kelsey Bros podcast? What am I missing out on? I lock in to the best thing that Travis Kelce does, and that's play football. I am locked in. I do not miss a Kelsey Bros football game. But Kelsey Bros pod, yeah, no. I don't watch, I don't listen. But apparently they had a pretty big get because Taylor was on there. And I did see a quote from Taylor, and I appreciate her level of self-awareness. She's like she said something like, this is the thing that men want more than anything else is more of me on their screen. Like that's good. That's good self-awareness, because a lot of people for some odd reason like got really mad that she was being shown, if you recall. So apparently she's dropping an album or an era or something. She's doing something, and whenever she does something, it is massive news. And she did it on Travis's podcast. So there you go. That's probably what happened. Travis went to her and is like, after we got our butts kicked by the Philadelphia Eagles, like I'll be honest with you, we're a little bit worried that we're not going to make it back. We need something to get us back to the Super Bowl. A little bit worried here. We had this ridiculous record in one-score games. The referees gave us every single call. We're just a little bit worried, and we're not going to be able to get back there. We need something. And Taylor's like, here's an era. So good point. And I think something that you definitely need to keep in mind when you're making your Super Bowl predictions. Brett texting in. Since Patrick Mahomes has become less popular and falling down the quarterback depth chart, he has not been in so many commercials. With that being said, I have no idea what not to buy or what insurance to not get or what shampoo to not use. I am confused at the grocery store again. I will hang up and listen. This after he asked if Patrick Mahomes has gotten any referees pregnant. That's not. Come on, Brett. No, that's good because with Joe Burrow being tied with Patrick Mahomes at the top of Mike Sando's quarterback tier list, it is a very difficult day for me. I'm really going through it. Everyone is making me a leper because I don't listen to the Kelsey Bros podcast. They think I am derelict in my duty as a Chiefs fan because I don't patron that podcast. And now Patrick Mahomes is tied for first among quarterbacks. Like this, I don't even know how I'm going to recover from today, honestly. But just the right time to chime in, Brett. Your timing is impeccable. It's good. Yep, Patrick Mahomes, pretty much done. I'm with you. We'll find out. We're all going to find out together, aren't we? It's going to be fun. I don't know where you stand on joint practice fighting. Not a huge fan of it. I'm not. I think words, and there are so many good words that you can use to just really let your opponent have it. Like, I am a big fan of using your words. 4-letter words, the more of them, the better. Get your point across, but use your words. Not a huge fan of training camp fights. Definitely not team versus team. That's like clown show. You're an unserious franchise when your team is fighting with each other. Fighting with your opponent in a joint practice, little bit more okay. Still not a huge fan of it. And I'll tell you what I'm definitely not a fan of. Your potential franchise quarterback being involved. This is not Bo Nix related. So, sorry. Maybe I should have led with that because I didn't want anybody to hyperventilate that Bo Nix got into it. That's tomorrow that Bo Nix is going to be throwing some hands. Atlanta and Tennessee were involved in a fight, and because the NFL is, and I guess we have Bill Belichick to thank for this, because the NFL is like the CIA, every team's like the CIA, like we gotta, keep our secrets. Don't you dare be shooting a Twitter video of our joint practice. It's like the boogeyman is gone. He's at North Carolina. He's the ACC's problem now. NFL teams and how limited they are, in college teams for that matter, it's like, okay. You think you got the secret that if it were leaked out, you would not win? Okay, whatever. That's fine. But so this is all being observed by people's eyeballs, and then they are writing what happened. And what I love about ESPN, it goes from a fight in the headline to a skirmish to what was the other thing? I laughed out loud when I read this. So the headline is Falcons Michael Penix Jr. involved in practice fight versus Titans. That sounds serious. Then the lead of the article, Atlanta Falcons quarterback Michael Penix Jr. was involved in a scuffle with the Tennessee Titans. All right, so we've gone from a fight to a scuffle in one sentence. And then it couple paragraphs down, and skirmish. I feel like it's getting less serious by the paragraph. A fight, and now we've moved to a skirmish. Maybe it's just trying to showcase the author's grasp of a thesaurus, but I don't like Michael Penix being involved in that if I'm the Atlanta Falcons. Like, if it's a couple of the, linemen or something like that, like they can handle themselves, that's fine. I don't want my quarterback in the middle of these things. And even Michael Penix acknowledged that probably wasn't the best thing for him to be involved. I'm sure he got a lot of attaboys behind closed doors, because that's the other thing with NFL culture. They will publicly say that's not what we want, and privately they'll go attaboy. But I still don't know that you want your quarterback involved in that. You don't let your quarterback get hit by people that you trust and people whose, success is dependent on the quarterback. You don't even let those guys hit him, and you're going to like your quarterback sticking his nose in the face of an opposing team? Yeah, can't have that. Not a fan of future franchise or quarterbacks of any kind. You know what? If Kenny Pickett wants to get involved in a joint practice fight, like, that's okay. But no one that you have, like, if Kirk Cousins wants to go out there, Kirk O'Chains, if he wants to throw some hands, then okay, but Michael Penix is the future. No quarterback in there. Dust up, kerfuffle, whatever you want to call it. Michael Penix in the middle of it. I'm sure he endeared himself to his teammates standing up like that. But if I'm Raheem Morris, I don't like that. I guess I would say I like the toughness. I like the thought process. I just don't like the actual action. Want to be right there with your teammates? Cool. Don't actually be there with your teammates. Let them handle it. Everyone is okay. Happy to report. So whatever you think about the Falcons, you don't have to worry about Michael Penix recovering from getting knocked out in a training camp kerfuffle. Which actually leads me into an interesting question. I think it's interesting. Maybe you don't. I was having this conversation with someone earlier. Jared Stidham had himself quite the day on Saturday, right? Certainly not going to be a starter for the Denver Broncos. Like, that's not happening. What if another team called up the Broncos and said, we'll give you Jared. We want Jared Stidham. He's not the starter. Would you do it? Or what would be the price? If some quarterback needy team, Indianapolis, maybe Cleveland, they're like, you know what? 6 isn't enough. We need 7. Give us Jared Stidham. Would you be willing to part with Jared Stidham if you're the Broncos? And I would say no. And I'll tell you why. It's not because I think that Jared Stidham is secretly better than Bo Nix. But because of everything that has been put into this season, all the bluster, all the big talk, all the prognostications, now Kay Adams is leaving suites for all the media members in Denver and saying, we'll see you at the Super Bowl. With all of this stuff going on, I don't know that you can afford everything to blow up if Bo Nix were to get hurt or were to struggle. Like, the Broncos got to win. They got to win a lot this year. And I don't think that they should be willing to part with their insurance policy. That's what Jared Stidham is. He's an insurance policy. Yeah, no. And by the way, let's not forget too that the Broncos are compensating Jared Stidham somewhere in this middle ground between being a starter and a backup. He's not being paid like a backup. He's being paid more than that, but he's not being paid starter money. It was important to get Jared Stidham on the Denver Broncos in Sean Payton's mind. I don't think that they'll be taking calls on him if somebody, let's say Jared Stidham goes out this Saturday and has another 14 for 15 performance and, you know, some other quarterback across the league gets hurt and they say, well, maybe we could get by with Jared Stidham. I don't think the Broncos are answering that call. Regardless of how Bo Nix looks this year, Broncos got to win. So if they're struggling, get Stiddy in there. I don't think he'll struggle enough. I don't think Sean Payton will let him struggle enough. But yeah, that's an important insurance policy. I'm not cashing out on that thing. Not this year. 719-24-7, 1313. One more segment. We'll come back right after this. file this story under local kid makes good, although she has been already making good. Allie Watt went to Pine Creek High School right here in Colorado Springs, turned professional in the sport of soccer, and now she has the honor and distinction of being the first player in Summit FC history, the new NWSL expansion club that will be starting next year in Denver, has acquired Allie. They loaned her back to Orlando, her current team, for the rest of the season, and then she's going to be on the squad next year. So that's awesome. Allie Watt's been on this program before, and we'll tease, she may be again very, very soon. But congratulations to her. Very cool story. Allie Watt, first player in Denver Summit FC history. What else we got here? Oh, the Blazers have been sold to the same guy that owns the Carolina Hurricanes. I assume he has a private jet, but my goodness, the maintenance fees on that jet are going to go way up. Could you pick teams further apart than Raleigh and Portland? I guess, hey, that was the team that was available for purchase, and he purchased it from the estate of Paul Allen, and they are not moving. And that's going to be the thing. If any other NBA franchises get sold, not the Celtics, because obviously not the Celtics, but if any other teams get sold between now and then, and Portland was the one, I think a lot of people are looking at New Orleans like, when is that going to happen? But nothing on the horizon for that. But because of all the talk about Las Vegas and bringing back the Sonics, any NBA team sold in the meantime, people are going to go, they moving? Although Portland to Seattle would be ridiculous. Part of the point is to get Seattle back in the NBA. So you have that Portland-Seattle rivalry. And you don't have this one NBA team that's like way up there and no one's even close to them. But what you can expect this year from the Portland Trailblazers, now that they have been sold, is that they will make a significant trade with the Denver Nuggets this year and will then be forced to trade that player to the Dallas Mavericks. Because that's how this guy's teams work. So he buys them. Tom Dundon is his name. And he's a different cat. Don't have time to get into it now, but the way he runs the Carolina Hurricanes, it's a little bit different. And not to the delight of Hurricanes fans. But he gets the Blazers for $4 billion, and just for reference, the Boston Celtics go for over $6 billion with a B. So Chauncey's got a new boss. And then what was the other thing I wanted to get into here? Oh, Michael Porter's talking again. Man, from the minute he got traded to the Nets, he has not stopped talking and has said, and I'll say this for Michael Porter Jr., it's not uninteresting what he's saying. In fact, it's maybe too interesting at times, as I talked about on the show yesterday. Another quote that came out that Michael Porter said on this podcast, not his, but somebody else's. He has become like a makeshift gambling expert. Not expert on gambling, but the effects of gambling, right? Because of what his brother Jonte did and everything like that. And he spoke pretty candidly about his brother and that whole situation when he was part of the Nuggets, and he's even more candid now that he's not. But now he's saying the effects of gambling on sports are only going to get worse. And it's an easy correlation to draw because there are, right now anyway, and I don't know that there's any putting the genie back in the bottle. I really don't. But certainly right now, even if you believe there's a chance that governments reverse course on gambling, they're certainly not at that point now. There are going to be more states that legalize it before you have a state decide, no, we're going to outlaw it now. So by that logic, he's right. And that's the entire conversation regarding sports betting. And it was that way with the legalization of marijuana, right? You put these, you bring them into the light. You allow more people to do it. You regulate it. And the bad is going to come along with it because there's just more information. It's more easily found out what's going on. There's a reason all those regulations and everything. Sports betting is people are looking for issues closer, and they're finding them. And I'm not at all doubting the negative effects of sports gambling. I know for some people it's not good. But you're going to hear more bad stories. Not because it's getting worse, but because there's more of it. Right? That's what it is. You legalize something, you're going to get more of it. You legalize marijuana, more people are going to use marijuana. You legalize sports gambling, more people are going to gamble. And those are two things that can have negative effects, and people can abuse them and get into real trouble. But I keep going back to, it's better that some of this stuff, I mean, especially with sports gambling, let's just take that. It can get really ugly. Like taking Jonte Porter's case. Like, think about if he was doing what he was doing 20 or 30 years ago. Law enforcement officials would be the least of his problems. Could you imagine just imagine what the sports gambling world was back then and put Jonte Porter in that position or any of these guys that are being brought up? Yeah, I would rather these athletes have a problem with law enforcement than have a problem with the other people that were regulating sports gambling back in the day, if you understand what I'm saying. At least there are laws, at least there are regulations, and I'm not saying that they're perfect. And look, I enjoy sports gambling. I'm not I wouldn't say I'm an advocate. Like, I don't extol the verdict. I enjoy it. I do. I don't do it a ton, but when I do sports gamble, I like it. I'm not a lobbyist for it or anything like that. I understand that there are negative effects, but I think what Michael Porter is saying is factually correct. But why is it factually correct? Well, it's factually correct because as you legalize it more people are going to do it. And if for nothing else, the law of averages kicks in, and you're going to hear more people, unfortunately, wrapped up in it. And it's the risk reward. Does the money that you generate, the enjoyment that people get out of it, the entertainment value, does that outweigh the negative? And many states and more states to come have decided, yeah, it outweighs it. I do appreciate Michael Porter's perspective on it. I do. And I think, we could joke about some of his thoughts on the world and how open he is about things that are a little bit weird that he's open about. Was sharing his vices the other day. Like, some people can relate, but to share it like that. But he is a thoughtful guy. And I appreciate him speaking on this, especially given what happened to his family. But I think what the context that's missing from those comments or that prediction from Michael Porter is, well, yeah, the more widespread something gets, you get more of the good and you also get more of the bad. Brooklyn Nets, Michael Porter Jr. I said this yesterday, but I'm going to be keeping an eye on him. And we'll find out, I think, tomorrow when Michael Porter will be back in Denver as a member of the Brooklyn Nets. And that will be certainly a game that I think many Nuggets fans will circle on the schedule that will be released tomorrow. But I'll put it this way. I would listen to the Curious Mike podcast before I listen to the Kelsey Bros podcast. And Adam Schefter just tweeted out 15 minutes ago, 1.3 million people are watching. And I'm looking at our numbers for our live stream. I'm like, why are they down? I'm competing against Kelsey Bros and Taylor. No wonder. That's okay. There's room for everybody in this world of sports media, although I don't know how much sports they're talking about on that particular episode. Before I go, I don't know if they're giving you good sound advice on their show. I am right now, courtesy of the fine folks at Low T Center. Be honest. You always tired, don't have that drive, focus, or motivation that you used to have. That may not be just stress or getting older. It could be low T. And if you're dealing with these things, it really affects your mood, your sleep, your relationship. It affects your life in general. So maybe it's time that you get tested. Find out. It's free test right now at Low T Center. So there's no risk. 15 minutes, get your results back, and then you'll know. And if it is low testosterone and you want to treat it, you can choose from any number of treatment options, including treatments getting shipped directly to your door. And right now, if you refer a friend, you can both get $250 credit when you start treatment. So just a little added incentive to get right with Low T Center. Go to fixmylowt.com to book that initial free testosterone test. That's fixmylowt.com. Appreciate your patronage on this Wednesday. Enjoy your evening. Come back and do it all over again tomorrow at 3 here on Extra Sports 1300.
I'm Omar Reese with NFL Network now on the Westwood One Radio Network. Packers quarterback Jordan Love underwent a procedure